feet. Touchdown, Ravens!
What a play by the Ravens. It's going to result in a touchdown.
Play action. Pass is caught. That's going to be a first down for the Ravens.
40, 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Ravens! And the crowd goes wild.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Play Action Podcast, Season 2, Episode 4. I'm quarterback coach Garrett Stapleton.
Wide receivers coach, Coach Johnson.
Head football coach Jonathan Coddington. Good to be here with you guys. I know we're in a little bit different of a setting, and actually part of that is we're going to kind of throughout this season, we've talked a little bit with some of our current players and feature some of them. We also want to start featuring some of our alumni, and we've got some great guys that played here in this program, that coached in this program, that just love this place, that we want to bring on and hear from them and let them share their stories. Today, as we get into, conversation with Adam Shackleford, excited to talk with him, but, really excited to, kind of begin, kind of this series with some of our alumni.
Yeah, I know, like you said, getting the alumni involved and connecting our players with people who kind of been in their shoes before is huge, and not only just having guys on staff like yourself who graduated from here, and just for those guys to see how prideful you guys are, how important it is to you. It's definitely great to hear some success stories. We know Coach Montgomery was a part of the 1993 championship team, and then Adam, he was a part of the championship team in 2001. And we tell our guys all the time during the process that you guys won't be the first All-American, you guys won't be the first All-Conference player, you guys won't be the first people to come in here and do some really good things. And just the simple fact that you guys get to meet and hear from and hear some of the stories on, some of the journeys or what it took to kind of get to that championship level, the guys will find out that, they kind of had some similar paths, and I know for me, that's been, well, my time here, not being connected, that's been some of my favorite parts of just hearing some of the history and hearing some of the good stories of when we were a good, solid program. So really excited to hear more from Adam and just on his time here at Anderson.
Mm-hmm. And I think that just kind of goes back to one of our pillars, man, just adding to the legacy and, being able to talk with all these alumni and hearing some of the stories about going 0-10 or 0 whatever and flipping it a couple of years later in the conference championships, man. I know Coach Johnson, it gets his heart racing, man. So we're really excited to hear those stories, man, to hear from these guys. And just to hear the success stories. I know he was around for, Denny Kimmel, Joel Steele, just being able to be around those guys and being around those great alumni, man, has been awesome to hear. So.
Yeah, most definitely. We talk about the legacy, the program, we want to keep adding to that, each and every day, each and every year, that legacy without a doubt is great football. And there's been so many people that have come through this program, and the standard is we play great football, here at Anderson, but that legacy, while yes, it's on the field and it's, having great players and great teams, it's also what happens off the field. It's the life change that happens in the lives of guys that step, into this program in whatever role that might be. And, it's about those relationships, life's about relationships. And, it's awesome just to see the connection, within, kind of the brotherhood that's, our football program and the history here. And so, excited to hop in with Adam, here and bring him on, just to give a little background on him, played football here, from, at Anderson from 1995 to 98, then started his coaching career here. Coached the tight ends, then the offensive line, through that championship season and beyond. And then, started getting into some arena football at that point, was a professional football coach, coached the offensive line, then became the offensive coordinator, at a couple arena teams in Cincinnati and Louisville, then got a chance to go be a head coach out in Spokane and took his team to a championship, had some phenomenal seasons and some great records there. Then was the head coach of a couple other arena teams, out on the West Coast and has been in the front office with some player personnel stuff, in addition to some on the field coaching roles, now getting ready for the 2025 season, as, coaching the offensive line, working in the front office, at the San Diego Strike Force. And so, excited to get to talk some football with the dude that has had a phenomenal coaching career. I will say too, kind of a little bit on a side note, but man, it's awesome to see just how many of our alums have gone on to be some pretty high level coaches. Whether it's high school, college, professional. Man, there's been some kind of a great football tree that's come out of here.
Mm-hmm. So let's bring on Adam Shackleford.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, welcome. We are, here with Adam Shackleford, who's an AU football alum, former AU football coach, and over his time after graduating, has coached at several different levels. As it was head coach for several different arena football teams. Has done some front office work as well too. Currently working with the team in San Diego. So really excited, Adam, to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to see you guys, and always love talking Raven football. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Definitely one thing we love about, our alumni base, a lot of guys that are passionate about AU football that love it. And, whether you're still here locally in Anderson or far away, just great to have a lot of support around the country for us. So take us back kind of to your, initial days, from, high school. I know you went to Muller High School, which, I went to Sycamore High School. So right down the road, rivals there in Cincinnati. But what brought you, over to Anderson University?
Well, my experience at Moeller obviously was very good. I grew up in Cincinnati, kind of always knew that I was going to go to Moeller. I went to Catholic school growing up. And, my connection after Moeller, I wanted to play college football. I think I was pretty realistic about what level I could be, a 5'10" and a half, 240-pound center guard. I think I was always pretty realistic about where that placement and where I would be. Visited some schools. I had some connections to Anderson. At the time, the running backs coach, Paul Townsend, was a Westchester and Cincinnati guy as well. Actually went to high school at Lakota in Cincinnati with my brother. And the recruiting process started. And as I went through it, getting to know Coach Manley, getting to know Joe Williams, getting to know that staff, I think there was just a comfort level. It was a nice distance from where I was, and I enjoyed the school in all aspects. I liked the ability of the small classrooms. I liked the football program. They had won back then an ICAC championship in 1993, and I think went 7-3 the next year. And then I came in that following year. And really came into what I thought was an outstanding senior class, led by some guys like Mike Mosier, who's a very successful high school coach in Indiana now, I believe, won the state championship this year.
He did, yeah.
Roosevelt Norfleet, who was a really good football player. So there was a good base of guys that not only knew how to win, but knew the expectations of that time, the head coach, Mike Manley. It was a comfortable situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Great to be a part of a group that knows how to operate, knows how to be a college football player. Having Coach Johnson talks about this all the time. Having guys in front of you that can kind of mentor you in that process is definitely huge.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge, and I think if you understand and you're realistic about your experience, now obviously the environment of college football has changed immensely since then, but it was an eye-opening experience. There's a big difference between going against 18-year-olds and going against 22-year-olds. You have to grow up very quickly, and you have to adapt very quickly. And I think that was a challenge, but also a welcome challenge for me.
So Adam, when you got here, you said you mentioned those guys who were already here when you got here. How was the culture? How was that transition for a high school senior being a college freshman? How was that transition for you?
Well, I think the biggest thing is I came from a school that football was very important. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to find a place where I felt the same way, but also where I could get an education, and also where I could concentrate outside of football on small classrooms and everything that Anderson I thought afforded me to be successful on and off the field. And the adjustment for anybody is never easy. I don't care where you go. I got to think it's tougher now for kids. Some of these kids graduate high school early, and they're getting to these schools even quicker than before. Mm-hmm. There's an adjustment period. I think when you build a successful program, you have upperclassmen who understand those struggles, remember those struggles themselves and welcome those kids in and remind them that they're immediately part of the family. And I think that's kind of the way that we felt as freshmen when we came in 1995.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah, that's
awesome.
good.
Well, I'm sure that over the course of your playing career here, lots of great memories. Do you got any great stories or memories that kind of stick out more than the rest?
Well, I had the opportunity to start as a sophomore, and whether I was ready to play college football as a sophomore, I don't know if I was or I wasn't, but I was put in that spot. I think taking on the culture and understanding the Saturday mornings, the fall, the leaves, the weather in Indiana when it starts to change a little bit, driving on a bus up to Wabash College, and understanding that you're playing, what you're doing is a big deal. Going on the road with your teammates. I remember my first trip ever was to Wisconsin. It was like a 13-hour bus ride up to Wisconsin. I don't even think the school exists anymore that we played. But just the idea of being on the bus, traveling with your teammates, not only your teammates, but guys in the future that are going to be in your wedding, guys that are going to be friends for life, guys that are going to be, fraternity brothers, and guys you still call when you need something. Building those relationships, not only as a player, but I enjoy that part as a coach as well. I'm in my 26th or 27th year coaching now, and I can tell you that those kind of things that I built at Anderson, I still hold dear today, and I think that's the reason I'm still doing what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. We talk with our current players, with recruits, just with everybody in the program about we want to add to the legacy that's this football program. And without a doubt, AU football is great football. That's the legacy of this program. We've played great football for decades, and we're building back to that championship level caliber of football. But more than that, the legacy here is the life change that happens. It's those relationships that last a lifetime. It's the development that you get to do, and just so cool to continue to hear that just from people across all eras, that those are the things that stick with you through this time.
Absolutely. And when you get older and you get a chance to look back, and I had the unique experience of not only playing 4 years. When my 4 years were done, Coach Barrows came in, and I knew that I wanted to stay involved in football. I didn't know exactly what that was going to be. I was, again, very realistic that I was not going to be a pro football player. And sure, there were some opportunities in Europe and things like that, but how much would that really help me in my career? I decided to jump in as a student coach in 1999. I coached tight ends. I think I made $500 for the season, my first coaching job, and the experience of being on that staff and the experience of starting to rebuild a program that desperately needed to be rebuilt. I think was very rewarding and taught me a lot about what it takes to be not only a coach at a small school, but a coach that can take something that maybe a lot of people think can't be redone, rebuilt, and in an effort by a lot of people, we were able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt, that is rewarding, and I think we feel that pride along with you, as we're kind of in that process, right now as well, and the pride to do that just from the work that everybody is putting in, and it does take everybody to do that without a doubt. But also without a doubt, I know for me, and I'm sure it was for you as well too, a little extra pride that you have for that place that you wore that uniform and you played on that field definitely is a special deal to get to coach at that place.
I took it. Yeah, I definitely understood that. And, I left Anderson in 2000. Originally, when Coach Barrows left after 3 years, I was on my way out as well. Coach Barrows had taken a defensive coordinator job at Charleston Southern. He wasn't in a situation to bring his staff with him. Now, I was in a unique experience because in 2001, I started doing some intern work for the Indianapolis Firebirds, which was the local arena team. I got to know their staff. George Munoz, who was our offensive coordinator at the time, used to play for them when they were in New York. And we got introduced to them when they transferred down to Indianapolis. And that started my arena career I started again, very much like Anderson, holding a clipboard, helping out at tryouts, being there, available to them for whatever they needed. And in 2003, that turned into a full-time job in Cincinnati, coaching arena football, and then I had the luxury of going back and forth for a couple of years. I was coaching for Coach Judge in the fall. Just sold a house over on Milton there outside of campus. Actually, this year, just sold a house that I lived in for years and then rented out to college students. So I would live there in the fall and then go coach in Cincinnati and then Louisville, Kentucky in the spring. And kind of, I was single at the time and was able to do both. And I made that work for several years. And then in 2006, got the opportunity to be the head coach in Spokane, where we live today. And unfortunately wasn't able to continue my career at Anderson, but I really enjoyed my time there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that was kind of one of the questions that I have for you was, how can you explain the differences of like 11 man or even the differences of indoor and arena? Because I know you got experience in both, but like how is that? What's the difference there between those two?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. There's a lot of difference. Arena football, obviously the smaller field makes it much more of a fast game. You've got guys in motion. For people that don't know a lot about arena football, it's basically the Canadian game. Play with 8 men on a smaller field, the size of a hockey rink, basically indoors. It's been around since 1987. I got into it basically out of necessity, and then I got hooked. I never thought I wouldn't go back to college football, and it just continued to be something that I was getting more and more opportunities to do. I had a lot of help and a lot of success because of the people around me and good players. But I did enjoy going back to the college game. I did enjoy that. Leaving in the spring, you're coaching guys that have all been in the NFL or close to the NFL. You're guys that are very good athletes. And then you went back to your roots a little bit. You came back to Anderson and you're teaching kids fresh out of high school, and you got to remind yourself a little bit that, hey, they're not going to know maybe what these other guys knew, but I can implement some of the same things. And if they can just get one or two of those things, we can make this offensive line a better unit. And I enjoyed my time coaching the offensive line there with Anderson. I had a really good group. Coached 2 All-American tackles while I was there, Pete Needler and Brian Committa, who, quite honestly, Brian Committa, I think if he hadn't got hurt his senior year, probably would have been in an NFL camp. He ended up playing the Arena League for me for several years, and is now a strength coach at Nebraska for the volleyball team. We all know how good that volleyball team is out in Nebraska, and he's doing a wonderful job. So I think that was the biggest difference. Was I had to evolve a little bit between the two, and my coaching styles changed, but I tried to implement pro stuff into what we did at Anderson.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm pretty sure the players were very receptive of it, and they were eager to learn basically what pro athletes are doing.
Yeah, not only eager to learn that stuff, but it does give you, I don't want to say credibility, but coaching those guys and being able to be around them, and then leaving and going to do what I did and not seeing those guys sometimes was tough. You can't stay in touch like you do these days. It's a lot easier to stay in touch than it was back in the early 2000s. But I always enjoyed coming back and making sure they knew that, I wanted to be a part of what they were doing. And giving back to a place that I think, and I know you guys feel the same way, is a special place. It's not just the football program that's a special place at Anderson. It's the community as a whole. Mm-hmm. No matter what side of campus, no matter what sport you're in, no matter what you want to get involved in. My wife, I met her at Anderson. She's a Raven. She was a volleyball player and a track, involved in track. And, everything we did and everything we tried to build at Anderson when we were there, I think is a reflection of what you try to do in life.
Absolutely. You mentioned a couple of those, All-American linemen that you got to work with, here, got to coach, you guys were coaching probably one of the most prolific offenses, that we've had in history with, record breakers at, quarterback with Joel, Denny at running back, obviously paving the way, was your offensive line there. Man, it must have been fun, coaching that group of guys.
It was. We recruited Joel out of South Bend Clay High School. He came in with 3 other freshman quarterbacks and wasn't the starter right away. We had a kid named Pat Murphy I recruited out of Franklin High School in Nashville that ended up being our starter for the first, I think, 6 or 7 games. A little bit of an injury, and Joel came in and never gave that job up. Joel was a competitor. Joel threw a great ball. And if you ask Joe, he'll tell you Joel also had a lot of help around it. Denny Kimmel was a great player, probably the hardest working athlete I have ever coached. Relentless is probably not strong enough word. And we had a good offensive line, and we had a scheme where we just kind of spread everybody out and try to protect them the best we could. The bigger splits were becoming a thing. We moved some athletes to tackle, and we moved a linebacker to tackle. We got a little bit more athletic up front, and we just try to protect people and try to create natural spaces in our scheme.
Mm-hmm. That's it's interesting as football just continues to go through cycles, kind of what's new then gets, becomes old, what's old then kind of starts to, resurface now. And, even some of those bigger split things went away, kind of come back, whether it's in, college football or, maybe not as much in the pro game, but, just cool to see how, those continue to get reused. But even in current football, it has gone back to a lot more of, smaller, more athletic guys and just kind of the way that football is.
Yeah, the one thing I love about coaching is you believe in something, you have convictions about something, and you go out and you implement it. And it works when you get your players to believe that not only is it the best way to do it, but it's the right way to do it, and you're teaching it the right way. You can win. You look what Army did this year. You look what, every year there's an upset for the team. And then you have to evolve a little bit too. You've got coaches that will hire new coordinators and completely kind of change from what they were to become something else. You've got to look at your locker room, look at what you have athletically, and you have to decide what you're going to be good at and what you can do. You got to find a way to get 4 yards, I always say.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, when you transitioned over in your coaching career, into, arena ball, going through, your resume, you obviously did a great job climbing from, offensive line coach to offensive coordinator to head coach, and also then, after that, even some front office work as well, too. I think a lot of times, climbing the ranks in, football can be very similar to, in business or whatever career people go into, as well as even just, on a football, on the football field as well, too, on a roster. What did it take for you kind of in your process as you, went from one kind of stepping stone to the next? And, was that always kind of your plan, to go be a head coach professionally?
No, I don't think so. Again, I thought I would always get back into the college game. I think it just kind of happened. Everybody always says, well, wasn't your ultimate goal the NFL? And I don't know if it ever was. I like being happy where I'm at. I do more consulting now. I do coach the offensive line in San Diego with the arena team there. I do a lot of consulting. I do a lot of front office and personnel work. I like building rosters. It's something that I think I've been good at over the years. I've always found that good players can make up for bad decisions as a head coach. I've made several of them, more than I'd like to admit in my day. And I've had some players that have saved me a little bit on those. I briefly had some opportunities to be a scout in the NFL. I've known Jay Gruden for a long time, and there were some discussions when he got the job in Washington of maybe coming on. But it just, my family is so important to me. And I got out of coaching and worked from home, consulting and doing that stuff for several years, because I saw that my kids needed me at home more than I needed to be on the road. And then COVID happened, and life happens. But I think it's just so important now, not only mentally, but for someone who puts family first, to be happy where you're at, make where you're at the best place to be. Anderson's a great environment for that. People that have never understood or been around Anderson don't understand it. It's tough to explain. But I've also often told people you don't have to explain Anderson. You just got to go out for homecoming or go out and walk around campus, and you kind of get it. And I've always kind of believed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know for my wife and I, we found that, man, this is a great place to raise our three kids. And you come for the homecoming game next year, you're going to see the three of them running all over the place, asking about the football players, going to say hi to Coach Monty and Coach Tape. And it's definitely been a great family environment. I think that speaks a lot to, you mentioned before, whether it's the football program, the athletic department, the academics. There's so many people that are just phenomenal people here, and that love and care about every student. And I know for me personally, some of my best memories of this place weren't necessarily football. I had great football memories, had great teammates, but I can remember the professors that just poured into me, the student life staff that were there for everything and always, helping you out. And then I think it's very telling when you have a lot of alumni that come back and work here, like you did, to just say, hey, this place is absolutely worth investing in.
It is worth it, and not only because of the education you get, but the people around you, and you're right, and that was, I looked at some other schools, and I just didn't have that sense of this is where I need to be, and I kind of did with Anderson, and help is never far away at Anderson if you need it. I always found that. I'd ask for it just like anywhere else, but it's certainly never far away.
Mm-hmm. So you 2001 you experienced the championship season here as a coach, as the O-line coach. 2009 then championship season as the head coach out in Spokane. What were some of the similarities between those championship teams that you got a chance to to coach?
Well, everything's special in its unique way, and it's not just the championships. I've been to a lot of championships. I haven't won a lot of them. I don't have a very good record in championship games. I think I'm 2-9. I think in my championship games. I told people I should write a book saying second place pays the bills. But I remember winning the championship in 2001, and I think the first thing that came to mind was not the football. It was not the success. It was the struggle. It was the having 37 kids in 1999 on the roster. It was having 23 guys in an off-season program. It was going out and recruiting off an 0-10 team and trying to convince kids Anderson was still a good place to be. I think when you finally get to your goal, I think if you worked the right way, the reward is knowing that you overcame those things. And that allows you to appreciate that moment a little bit more. In pro football in 2009, we had lost it in double overtime the year before at home. We had lost it in 2008 on a 2-point play where our linebacker missed the tackle, and their quarterback, who wasn't even a runner, kind of slipped in, and we lost in double overtime. The next year, we had a lot of the same guys back, and you could tell there was a mission to win a championship, to make that feeling go away. And winning it with the right people, can be more rewarding than just winning it. Look into a kid's eyes knowing that maybe 2 years ago he wasn't ready to be a champion, and now he is. Looking into a young man's eyes knowing that, if he wasn't an Anderson winning a championship, you're a coach, where would he actually be? And I think that's the more fulfilling thing as a coach. Is it's not about saving lives or anything like that, but it's about changing lives. It's about, even at the level I'm at right now, I deal with 26, 27-year-old men. Some of them still need direction. Some still need a push. Some still need confidence. Some need a pat on the back. People tell me all the time, "Can you still yell at players?" I'll yell and try to always put my arm around them. I said the only difference is now they yell back. A lot of them, but but you can be tough on guys. You can still hold people accountable. You still have to hold football players accountable. And you have to be accountable yourself as a coach.
Yeah. I know for me, that's one of the big things that I put an emphasis on whenever we got guys coming up on campus. It's like that's one of the biggest difference from high school to college. You know, you're going to constantly have that coach right there by you to hold you accountable and help you achieve what you want to achieve as an individual. And can't get mad if I'm holding you accountable to something that you say that you want, something that you're passionate about. But I know hearing you talk about that championship in 2001, that's definitely the feeling that I know I'm personally starting to feel. Like you said, you know, when we first got here, we had 25 guys going through spring ball, and then we had to work hard and bring in a team. And you know, we're constantly searching for the right guys to fit how we do things, and who other guys who believe in how we do things. And that also has its fun in it also. But like you said, these guys knowing years ago that they weren't ready, and then when they're finally at that point where they are champions, it's going to feel that much better for us. But I hope that they kind of have that same lens also. Like, man, I had to do a lot of hard work. I had to do a lot of developing and sacrificing to get here. Let's go get back and do it again, or let me make sure that the guys coming in after me kind of knows what it took to get here over the years.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And the other thing is, I found if you're fair, you can be hard on a guy. And what you'll find as you guys start getting older and in your careers, the guys that you were hard on and the guys that you held accountable are the same guys that will call you 10 years later and ask hey, coach, I'm getting ready to buy a house. What do I need to know? Hey, coach, I'm getting ready to apply for this job. You know, I had a player that played for me in 2007 in pro football. He actually worked in the Secret Service and worked in the White House with Obama. And I remember when he was trying to get on the Secret Service, it was this whole thing, and we both had to go through this whole process. And I was a reference for him. And if you'd have told me in 2007 that 3 years later that young man was ready to protect the White House, I'm not sure I'd have told you he could have done that. But to watch a kid grow and now, you know, he's still involved in government contracting, government work, because, you know, maybe it's something I said, maybe it's something another assistant coach said. If that's what it took, you know, me being hard on a guy, I don't do it because I want to. I do it because I feel like I have to. Mm-hmm. And accountability is a lost art in today's world. And I refuse to change the way I'm going to coach. When I'm asked to change the way I coach, I will retire for good, and I won't have a problem with that.
Respect.
So my one question for you, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sweet. Sorry, I'm in a weird location, but my one question for you was, what was kind of your philosophy coming out as a player, coming into a situation where you already played at, and having to coach those same guys? Kind of talk about what that was like for you, because I know it's different for everybody.
Yeah. So my last year, I was a guard on the team. That was 1998. And then when I got on as a student assistant, I coached the tight ends. Now, I had the luxury of coaching in a tight end offense that didn't use a tight end very often. So I think I had 3 or 4 guys. I think one of them I actually coached. The rest of them were freshmen. But I think there has to be some separation. I think there has to be some, you know, you're not having to choose your friends all of a sudden, but you've got to have some understanding that, hey, what I hear in a staff meeting is not going to get out. You know, if the players start knowing what's going on, it's not going to be from me. And on the other side, you know, if I'm out somewhere and I'm with one of my former teammates and he's still on the team, he has to feel comfortable too that I'm not going back to the coaches saying, hey, this guy skipped class this morning, or, you know, I know this guy wasn't maybe necessarily doing what he was supposed to do and do things the Ravens way. I think there has to be some separation from that. I knew I wanted to be a coach about 3 weeks into what I was doing. So I knew I was going to do whatever it took to do that. And then you just work your tail off. And I think if you work your tail off, you earn the respect of your head coach, you earn the respect of the coaching staff around you, and you earn the respect of your former teammates saying, hey, this guy worked hard as a player. Now he works hard as a coach. He's trying to make us better. And the other thing is you don't come in and think that you can just start yelling at your former teammates. I think you have to approach it from a thing where I'm trying to help you. I'm here if you need me. This is what we're trying to do, and it's all for the good of the cause.
And sounds like that's kind of been a pretty big theme throughout your coaching philosophy, as you kind of described how you're even coaching now. That's kind of stayed with you, developing those guys in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we try to develop, and again, we're at the end of the day, and at the Division III level, and at the arena level, we'll have guys move up to the CFL. We'll have a guy occasionally move up to the NFL. But a lot of these guys are at the end of their careers. A lot of guys in Division III football aren't going to play past Anderson. Mm-hmm. So are we spending time making them better football players? Yes. But what helps them more? To me, it's always been trying to teach them life lessons and create a culture where they can be better men, better husbands, better fathers. And if we can create that culture, we kind of help them on their way out, and hopefully pass along where they start doing the same things.
Mm-hmm. For sure. You mentioned at the beginning, playing for your offensive line coach was Joe Williams, and that's a dude that man, he bleeds orange and black. He has been a cornerstone of this program for a long, long time, and still working with our offensive line and our specialists and doing a great job. There with those guys. You got any great Coach Williams stories for us?
Oh man, too many. I remember when I first met Joe. I met Coach Joe and Coach Manley in Cincinnati at an event, and Coach Joe introduced himself as the offensive line coach, and there was an instant rapport. Coach, not only is he very approachable, he's down to earth. He's got a great sense of humor. He's easy to get along with. I have a unique experience with Coach Joe because I played for him, coached with him under Coach Judge, and have remained friends today. I used to work for him in the summer when he ran a summer camp program. I used to work for him and was a counselor for him. So Joe's very dear to me. I think the world of him. He does bleed orange and black. He loves Anderson University. It's been a very special relationship. I've known his kids over the years. I've known, I was with him through the tragedy with his wife when he was going through all that, and we got through that as a football team. And he's just a very special person, and certainly a guy that if I ever needed something, I feel like I can still call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely. Those college teammates you have are without a doubt some lifelong relationships, but the coaches as well too. It's just cool to see how, when you've got great dudes like that have been around the program, how those relationships are ones that last a lifetime also.
Absolutely. And Coach Manley, Coach Manley was a hard guy to read. Coach Manley was a hard guy to understand. But Coach Manley seemed to like me because I sorted through all that stuff, and I would just kind of be direct with him and honest with him. And I worked hard, and I think he respected that. And sometimes I don't think he knew what to think of me, but he knew I would go out and I would do the best I could. And it was a good staff, a very comfortable staff when I got there. They were very knowledgeable. Of course, we were an option team back then, so it gave a 5-10 center a chance to be successful. And we had some really good years, some fun years running the football there.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. Well, Adam, thank you so much for your time with us today. We really appreciate it. Know that you're very busy, getting off to training camp here, really soon, and wish you the best of luck as you guys start your season. But thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us.
Well, I appreciate it. We're going to be in Fishers in July for a football game. Would love to have you guys over as a staff. Let me know how I can help with that. And still love watching on Saturdays, guys. And I see the improvement. I see what you're building. There's a lot of people out there that are pulling for you guys. I love hearing about some successful recruiting again this year. And go Ravens.
Let's go Ravens, baby.
Yes,
Go
sir.
Ravens.